The Galactic Agricultural Council's chamber erupted in chittering laughter when Marcus Chen stepped up to the crystalline podium. His worn boots and dirt-stained coveralls stood in stark contrast to the gleaming biosuits and ceremonial shells of the assembled delegates. "The human wishes to address crop yields," Ambassador Vexahai announced, her serpentine form coiled in amusement. "How quaint." Marcus adjusted his wide-brimmed hat and cleared his throat. Around him, representatives from a dozen species whispered among themselves. The Zephyrians' feathered crests fluttered with barely contained mirth. The silicon-based crystallites pulsed with colors that translated roughly to primitive fool. "Honored delegates," Marcus began, his voice steady despite the mockery. "I've come to share what my family has learned about farming." "Farming?" The word dripped from Vexhai's forked tongue like poison. "Human, your species has been spacefaring for barely 3 centuries. The Altarian Empire has been perfecting agricultural science for 50,000 years. What could you possibly teach us?" The chamber filled with approving hisses and clicks. Marcus had expected this. Earth was still considered a backwater world, its inhabitants barely above barbarians in the eyes of the galactic community. When humanity had first made contact, their agricultural techniques had been dismissed as charmingly primitive. "I'd like to show you something," Marcus said, producing a small device from his pocket. The hologram that materialized above it displayed row upon row of golden wheat, swaying in an artificial breeze. "Standard Terran grain," scoffed Delegate Zekthor, his mantis-like arms clicking dismissively. "We've seen your Earth crops. Pathetic yields, prone to disease, requiring excessive water and nutrients." "This isn't from Earth," Marcus replied quietly. The chamber fell silent. Vexhai's eyes narrowed to slits. "Impossible. Terran crops cannot survive off-world. We've run the calculations. Your plants are too fragile, too dependent on your specific atmospheric conditions." Marcus touched his device again. The hologram zoomed out, revealing the wheat field stretching to the horizon under an alien sky. 3 moons hung in the purple atmosphere, and in the distance the geometric shapes of Zephyrian architecture gleamed like jewels. "This is from Kepler 442b, Marcus said. "The colony world that's been facing famine for the past 2 years." A shocked silence descended upon the chamber. Kepler 442b was a Zephyrian protectorate, one of their most important agricultural worlds. The crop failures there had sent shockwaves throughout the galactic economy. "That's impossible," whispered high agriculturalist Trilvana, her feathers now flat against her skull in distress. "We sent our best geneticists, our most advanced bioengineering teams. Nothing would grow in that contaminated soil." Marcus nodded. "I know, I read the reports. Heavy metal contamination, acidic soil, unpredictable weather patterns. Your people declared it a total loss." "Then how?" Vexhai started, but Marcus raised his hand. "Because you were thinking like scientists, not like farmers." His weathered face creased into a smile. "My great-grandfather grew corn in Dust Bowl, Oklahoma. My grandmother coaxed tomatoes from Brooklyn rooftops during the food riots. My father made the desert bloom in Arizona using nothing but compost and stubbornness." The hologram shifted, showing close-ups of the wheat. But something was different about these plants. They seemed more robust, their roots deeper and more complex. "You see, while your species were perfecting hydroponics and genetic modification, humans were learning something else entirely. We were learning how to partner with our crops, not just command them." Marcus's device projected a new image. Microscopic root networks intertwined with strange, glowing fungi. "Mycorrhizal networks," he explained. "Symbiotic relationships between plants and fungi that exist naturally on Earth. But we've been cultivating these partnerships for generations, selecting not just for crop yield but for the health of the entire soil ecosystem." Delegate Zekthor leaned forward, his compound eyes reflecting the hologram's light. "You're saying your plants cooperate with alien organisms?" "More than that," Marcus said. "When we arrived on Kepler 442b, we didn't try to sterilize the soil like your teams did. We studied it. We introduced Earth fungi slowly, carefully, letting them adapt to the native microorganisms. It took 18 months, but gradually, we created a hybrid ecosystem." The hologram showed time-lapse footage of barren, poisoned Earth slowly transforming. First came patches of green, then spreading networks of healthy soil, and finally the golden waves of grain. "The contaminated soil you couldn't clean?" Marcus continued. Our fungal partners actually absorb and process those heavy metals, making them harmless while enriching the earth. The unpredictable weather. Our root networks store water and nutrients during good times, sharing them through the fungal highways during droughts. Trilvana was frantically taking notes on her biopad. The yield calculations, they're impossible. 3 times what your projections said the land could support, Marcus confirmed, and that's just the beginning. Each harvest makes the soil richer, more resilient. In 5 years, Kepler 442b could be feeding half the sector. The chamber buzzed with excitement now, the mockery replaced by hungry curiosity. But Marcus held up his hand again. There's more, he said. The hologram shifted once more, showing similar scenes on world after world. Crystallite mining planets where crops now grew in pure silicon. Aquatic worlds where floating gardens fed the amphibian populations. Ice worlds where root vegetables thrived in heated underground networks. 17 worlds, Marcus said quietly. 17 impossible agricultural projects that your governments had written off as total losses. All of them now producing food. Vexhi's voice was barely a whisper. How? Marcus smiled, the expression transforming his weathered face. Because we never forgot that we're not just feeding plants, we're feeding ecosystems. We're not just growing crops, we're growing communities of living things that support each other. He gestured to the assembled delegates. Your species achieved incredible things through technology and genetic manipulation. But humans learned something different during our long journey from hunter-gatherers to spacefarers. We learned patience. We learned partnership. We learned that sometimes the best way to control nature is to stop trying to control it and start trying to understand it. The chamber was completely silent now, every eye fixed on the humble human farmer. The galaxy is facing a food crisis, Marcus continued. Your traditional methods aren't working anymore as we expand to more marginal worlds. But Earth has something to offer, not just our crops, but our approach. Partnership instead of domination, patience instead of speed, adaptation instead of forcing change. He touched his device one final time, and the hologram showed a galaxy-wide map dotted with green lights. Worlds where human agricultural techniques were already taking root. We're not asking you to abandon your science, Marcus said. We're asking you to combine it with our wisdom. Let us teach your people what we've learned about growing food in impossible places. Let us share the partnerships our ancestors built over thousands of years. Vexhi rose slowly from her coil, her earlier arrogance completely gone. Human farmer, she said formally, the Serpentine Confederacy would be honored to learn from your methods. One by one, the other delegates stood, offering similar formal requests. Marcus Chen, dirt still under his fingernails and earth soil still on his boots, had just revolutionized galactic agriculture, not through superior technology, but through the accumulated wisdom of countless generations of humans who had learned to work with the land instead of against it. As the session ended and delegates crowded around him with eager questions, Marcus smiled and pulled out his grandfather's worn notebook, its pages filled with handwritten observations about soil pH and rainfall patterns. Sometimes, he reflected, the most advanced technology in the galaxy was the one that remembered where it came from. The human farmer had come to teach the galaxy how to grow, and in doing so, had planted the seeds of a new era of cooperation between species. One rooted not in conquest, but in the ancient human understanding that all life grows better when it grows together.